In most Amish communities, the word sex is never spoken aloud. Not in church, not in school, not at the dinner table, not between a mother and her daughter the night before the daughter's wedding. The silence is not an oversight. It is the first rule. It shapes everything that follows, from the way young people court, to how married couples behave behind a closed door, to the way an entire community handles it when something goes wrong. These are 7 rules that govern the most private corners of Amish life. Rules that most outsiders would find unthinkable. Rules that the Amish themselves consider ordinary. Rule 1. There is no sex education, by design. John Hostetler, the most cited scholar in Amish studies, documented this directly. He wrote that Amish adults purposely ignore any mention of the subject, especially in the presence of children. Very little sex instruction is given to the ordinary Amish child. This is not negligence. It is theology applied to the body. The Amish believe that sexuality belongs exclusively inside marriage, and that exposing young people to knowledge about it before that time invites temptation. If you do not name it, you do not encourage it. If you do not explain it, you do not normalize it outside the one context where it is permitted. So how does a young Amish person learn? The same way farm children have learned for centuries, by watching animals. Births in the barn, mating in the pasture. The biology arrives in fragments, observed but never narrated, absorbed but never discussed. What cannot be learned from livestock is picked up in whispered conversations with siblings and friends, partial, inaccurate, and wrapped in shame before it even begins. The result is that many Amish men and women enter marriage with almost no understanding of their own bodies or their partners. The wedding night, which we covered in detail in our Amish wedding video, happens in the bride's parents' home, with family members sleeping down the hall, by the light of a kerosene lamp, between 2 people who have been taught that the subject they are now supposed to navigate is too shameful to say out loud. If you want to understand communities like this, not the postcard version, the real version, subscribe to this channel. That is what we do here. Rule 2. Courtship includes sharing a bed, fully clothed. The practice is called bundling, and it has roots older than the Amish themselves, dating back to European peasant communities that practiced versions of it for centuries before the Anabaptist movement existed. In the Amish version, a young man who is courting a young woman visits her home on a Sunday evening. After the family retires, the couple lies together in bed, fully dressed, and talks for hours in the dark. In the most conservative communities, particularly among the Swartzentruber Amish, a wooden board is sometimes placed between the couple as a physical barrier. In others, the couple simply lies side by side with the understanding that they will not cross the line. There is no chaperone in the room. The parents are asleep, or pretending to be, downstairs or in the next room. The community trusts the couple to exercise self-control. The purpose is not romantic. The purpose is practical. In a world without phones, without texting, without dating apps or coffee shops, bundling creates extended, uninterrupted private conversation between 2 people who need to decide whether they can build a life together. The bed is not the point. The conversation is the point. Whether the boundary holds every time is another matter. The Amish are not naive about human nature. They know what can happen when 2 young people lie in the dark together for hours. But the community has decided that the risk is worth the reward, that couples who have talked through the long hours of a winter night are better prepared for marriage than couples who have not. Rule 3. Modesty does not end at the bedroom door. In most Amish communities, modesty governs every aspect of a woman's appearance, and that governance does not stop when she enters her own home with her own husband. Nightgowns are long-sleeved, high-necked, ankle-length, made from plain cotton in white or muted colors. Nothing is designed to be attractive. Nothing is intended to draw the eye or stir desire. The principle of Gelassenheit, yielding to God, surrendering the self, extends into the most private moments of a marriage. If vanity is wrong in the kitchen and wrong in the church, it is wrong in the bedroom. The body is not to be displayed, even to the person you have married. This is difficult for outsiders to comprehend. In mainstream culture, Physical attraction within marriage is celebrated. In Amish culture, it is managed. The body exists for work, for childbearing, and for the service of God. Drawing attention to it, even in private, is a form of pride, and pride in every Amish community is the root of all separation from God. James Cates, the psychologist who wrote the most comprehensive study of Amish sexuality, described the Amish as a sexual minority, not in the modern political sense, but in the sense that their entire theological framework defines sexuality in ways fundamentally different from the surrounding culture. What the modern world treats as natural and healthy, the Amish treat as a force that must be contained, directed, and stripped of any element that might elevate the individual over the community. Rule 4. Birth control is officially forbidden. The Amish take the biblical command to be fruitful and multiply as a direct instruction. Artificial contraception, pills, devices, any medical intervention designed to prevent pregnancy is officially opposed across virtually all Amish communities. Children are considered a blessing from God. To deliberately prevent their arrival is to reject that blessing. This is why Amish families have historically been large. 5, 7, 10, 12 children are common in traditional communities. The population doubles every 20 years, driven almost entirely by birth rates rather than conversion. But here is where the official position and the private reality begin to diverge. Amish family sizes have been declining for decades. In the 1960s, the average Amish family had 7 or more children. Today, in some communities, the average is closer to 5. Scholars who study Amish demographics have noted this shift and drawn the obvious conclusion. Some Amish couples are making quiet, private decisions about family size that do not align with the official teaching. Nobody talks about it. No minister preaches about it. No study has ever gotten an Amish couple to discuss it on the record. But the numbers tell a story that the silence does not. A story of individual conscience operating inside a system that does not officially permit it. Rule 5. If you break the sexual rules, you confess in front of everyone. This is the enforcement mechanism that gives all the other rules their weight. If an Amish couple has sexual relations before marriage, they cannot simply proceed to the wedding and move forward quietly. Before they can be married in the church, they must stand before the entire congregation. Parents, siblings, grandparents, neighbors, the bishop, the ministers, every baptized member of the district, and confess what they have done. The confession is public. The shame is public. The forgiveness is supposed to be public too. But the memory of having stood in front of your community and admitted your most private failure does not disappear with a prayer. Subscribe. Now, if this is your first time here, we go places most channels won't. If adultery occurs within a marriage, the same process applies. The offending party confesses before the church. The ministers may ask detailed, uncomfortable questions. The congregation listens. The discipline is imposed, typically a period of shunning followed by reinstatement if the person demonstrates genuine repentance. The system is designed to create total accountability, and in many cases it does. The fear of public confession is a powerful deterrent, but the same system that deters also silences. When serious violations occur, such as abuse, coercion, or situations involving power and vulnerability, the pressure to handle it internally, to confess and forgive and move on, can prevent victims from seeking help outside the community. The confession ritual was designed for sins between equals. It was not designed for crimes committed by the powerful against the vulnerable. And that gap has caused real harm. Rule 6. The community decides what happens to your body after a violation. When sexual transgressions come to light, the response follows the church's disciplinary process, the same process that governs every other violation of the Ordnung. The ministers visit. The person is confronted. A confession is expected. If the confession is deemed sincere, discipline is imposed and eventually lifted, and forgiveness is extended. The matter is considered closed. The police are almost never called. Lawyers are almost never consulted. The Amish belief in separation from the world extends to the justice system. Matters of sin are handled by the church, not the state. This principle applies consistently to theft, to property disputes, to business conflicts, and to sexual offenses. For ordinary transgressions between consenting adults, the system works within its own logic. But when the transgression involves a child, or a person without power, or a pattern of predatory behavior, the internal system faces a test it was never designed to pass. The emphasis on forgiveness, which is genuine and deeply held, can function as pressure on victims to forgive before they are ready, to reconcile with people who have harmed them, and to remain silent about experiences that the outside world would prosecute as crimes. This is not unique to the Amish. Every closed community that handles internal discipline without external oversight faces this exact vulnerability. The Amish version is complicated by the fact that the community's instinct toward forgiveness is sincere. It is not a cover-up strategy, but a theological commitment. The problem is that genuine forgiveness and genuine justice are not always the same thing. Rule 7. Despite all of this, the system produces marriages that almost never end. The Amish divorce rate is effectively zero. Not low, not rare, virtually non-existent. In a culture where marriage is a permanent covenant, where the entire community is invested in the survival of every union, and where the social cost of separation is total, shunning, loss of family, loss of economic support follow, so divorce is simply not a path that exists for most Amish couples. This does not mean every Amish marriage is happy. It means every Amish marriage endures. Whether those are the same thing depends on your definition of success. The bedroom rules, the silence, the modesty, the public accountability, the prohibition on birth control, the suppression of any conversation about bodies and desire are not isolated practices. They are load-bearing walls in a structure designed to produce lifelong marriages, large families, and total community cohesion. Remove any one of them and the others become harder to sustain. The silence about sexuality reinforces the modesty. The modesty reinforces the submission. The submission reinforces the permanence of the marriage. The permanence of the marriage reinforces the stability of the community. Everything connects. The modern world has chosen a different architecture. It teaches openness about bodies, encourages communication between partners, provides sex education in schools, treats physical attraction as healthy, and allows marriages to end when they no longer work. That architecture produces different outcomes, more individual freedom, more personal expression, and a divorce rate that hovers near 50%. The Amish looked at that architecture and chose the opposite. Whether their choice produces more happiness or less is not a question anyone can answer from outside the fence. 7 rules, each one strange to the modern eye, each one connected to the others, each one serving a system that has survived for 3 centuries and shows no sign of slowing down. The Amish do not talk about these things. They do not explain them. They do not defend them. They simply live them, quietly, privately, behind doors that stay closed to the outside world. We opened one of those doors today. Just a crack, just enough to see. Inside the fence, or out. If this is your first time here, hit subscribe. We go inside the communities the world talks about, but never takes the time to understand. New content every week.